Welcome back to Serenade Podcast. Today we're diving into how electricity literally transformed music, from those eerie, touchless instruments to the electric guitar, and even to today's digital and AI-infused sounds.
I'm really excited about this. There's just so much to unpack here.
It all started, way back in the early 20th century with the Theremin. This instrument it's built on the idea that you could create sound without even touching the device. Your hands moving around those antennas produced those sci-fi otherworldly tones.
That's absolutely fascinating. Using just your movement to generate sound, it's almost magical.
Exactly. And it wasn't just a party trick. Early on, composers were already experimenting with these sounds. For instance, there was a piece, symphonic poem for theremin and orchestra, from 1931 by Joseph Schillinger. This showed that these electronic sounds could mingle beautifully with classical instruments.
Yeah, that really blends the old and the new. Almost like setting the stage for everything that followed.
Right. And then, as we moved forward, instruments like the ondes martenot and the trautonium popped up in the 1920s and 30s. They were really early synthesizer prototypes, if you will. But, the real game changer was definitely the electric guitar that emerged in the 1930s.
The electric guitar, talk about the rock star of instruments. It completely redefined what music could be.
Absolutely. The very first commercially successful electric guitar, known as the Frying Pan by Rickenbacker, made its debut in 1931. But it really began to capture the imagination of musicians in the 50s, when Fender and Gibson introduced models that could handle distortion and sustain like no traditional instrument could.
And that evolution set off the whole rock and roll revolution, didn't it? The sound of the electric guitar became synonymous with rebellion and energy.
Exactly. And while many traditional classical musicians were, quite skeptical about these electronic sounds at first, some even dismissed them as gimmicky, visionary composers soon started to embrace this new sonic territory.
I can imagine the pushback. Classical traditions run deep. But then someone like Edgar Varèse came along with his piece Poème électronique in 1958, proving that pure electronic music could hold its own as a serious art form.
Right. That's a turning point for sure. Then came the 1960s, where the Moog Synthesizer really revolutionized things. Initially seen as, an experimental tool, it wasn't until the release of Wendy Carlos's Switched On Bach in 1968, where Bach's music was recreated entirely on a Moog synth, that people began to see just how beautiful and powerful electronic music could be.
Yeah, it's almost like witnessing a digital remix before the digital era had fully blossomed. A true paradigm shift.
Exactly. And from that point onward, electronic music didn't just stay in one corner of culture. It exploded into pop, rock, and even jazz. Today, we see electronic elements woven into almost every musical genre, creating what feels like an endless palette of sonic possibilities.
Wow. It's impressive how those early experiments laid down the blueprint for so much innovation today. Do you really feel like the spirit of experimentation is still alive in music?
Absolutely. For sure. Modern artists are continually blending electronic elements with acoustic ones, even in classical compositions. And, the next frontier seems to be AI-generated music. Imagine software that can compose in the style of Mozart, or even innovate entirely new genres.
AI in music. Now that's really something. It almost feels like we're standing on the edge of a new musical era, where creativity is reimagined by technology.
Exactly. It's like each advancement sets the stage for another leap. I mean, from the eerie theremin to the electrifying guitar and the groundbreaking Moog, each invention expanded the way artists could think about and produce music.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then there's this fascinating crossover between genres, where the rigidity of classical music meets the wild experimentations of electronic sound. It's a real testament to how adaptable and expansive the concept of music is.
Definitely. And that fusion is what's truly mesmerizing. When you look back, it's like a timeline of bold innovations, each one challenging the status quo and pushing boundaries.
Speaking of bold moves, out of all these innovations, which moment do you think truly shifted the paradigm in a way that echoes even today?
I'd have to go with the invention of the Moog synthesizer. That moment, wasn't just about creating a new sound. It fundamentally changed the way composers thought about structure, tone, and even the very process of collaboration between human creativity and technology.
That's a strong point, but I'd respectfully say the electric guitar was equally revolutionary. Its raw energy and emotional appeal brought a whole new vibe to music that,
I see what
in
you
many
mean.
ways, still resonates.
Sure, they're both monumental. But the thing with the Moog is that it turned electronic music from an experimental corner piece into a mainstream art form, bridging gaps between classical sensibilities and futuristic sonic exploration.
I get it. The Moog did open up new creative avenues, though I still think the emotional connection of the guitar can't be overlooked. It's like comparing two different instruments in a grand orchestra, each playing its unique role.
That's a really neat analogy, each innovation adding its own texture to the overall soundscape. And now, with AI stepping onto the stage, it seems the canvas is expanding even further, allowing artists to experiment beyond traditional boundaries.
Yeah, it's truly a brave new world. As artists blend these old and new sounds, they're not just creating music, they're building entirely new genres that speak to our modern experience.
Exactly. And this journey of transformation is ongoing. Each breakthrough builds on the last, and every time we imagine new possibilities, it's like rewiring the world of music all over again.
And that constant evolution is what keeps music vibrant and alive. Always fresh, always daring.
Right on. From those early experiments with the Theremin to disruptive innovations like the electric guitar, Moog synthesizers, and now AI composition, we're witnessing a continuous dialogue between technology and art that's truly electrifying.
Yeah, it really is inspiring. Like every new sound invites musicians to explore uncharted territories, almost as if history is constantly rewriting its own score.
Absolutely. Every leap forward in technology reshapes the musical landscape, ensuring that the essence of creativity never fades, but only transforms. So, listeners, what do you think? Which electric music moment sparks the most excitement for you?
I know I'm thrilled by just how far these innovations have taken us. The blend of organic emotion with electronic precision is something truly unique. It feels like the adventure is just starting.
And that, folks, is the incredible story of how electricity remixed the very fabric of music. Remember to share your thoughts on which moment resonates with you the most, and keep exploring the vibrant, ever-evolving world of sound.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining this deep dive. Until next time, keep your speakers on and your minds open to the magic of music.